Hi Jen, how
Hey,
are you?
good. How are you?
Doing great. So to start, I when you are writing something and directing something, I always think it's fascinating to go from the writing process into the directing and how things kind of shift for a creative in that way. Did you find that once you got behind the camera and you started to film the movie that some of the stuff that you had envisioned when you were writing changed at all?
Totally. And it's so funny that you said that because I had to flip it in my head. And I think coming from reality TV, that prepared me for that because I always want to get to the end game, right? So when I thought of what I was going to do, I don't know if you saw it,
Mhm.
I started with the ending. And then I worked backwards. But when I worked backwards, I ended up being like, but we're in Penhurst. And this could go five different ways because I have five different actors with their own cameras that I truly gave them and decided last minute, I'm locking them in. And that's when you see the lock. They
Mhm.
didn't know that. They thought we were going to be with them. They thought we were going to hold their hand. And I made the executive decision at the last minute to go Blair Witch and everyone take a step back and we in Penhurst and was like, bye girl, we're gonna let you guys figure it out on your own. And to do that, I had to trust them, which I love, but I had to trust the process and Penhurst. Penhurst, by definition, is just naturally terrifying.
Mhm.
And I love movies that play on natural, terrifying tones. I don't like the sticky jump scares or the you know it's coming. And I love the fact that my actors were just also naturally scared. So that made it more challenging because, like you did say, I had to run up. There was no cell phone service down there and constantly edit and change the script based on how they reacted. So I was constantly running upstairs to get service, to get on my computer to change it, being like, all right, Jared acted this way, let's transition here. They never had the script. They only had one page at a time. They never knew how the ending was going to play out. None of them knew until they watched it on Friday. So I always wanted to keep everyone like out of it and only like need to know basis because there's something natural about, again, reality TV, the natural reaction of things.
Yeah, well, and I want to ask, I guess what I would say the opposite of you, because I watch reality TV because all I do for work is watch television shows and movies and analyze things and unpack it. So I need to shut my brain off and just relax as I put on reality TV. So is it the opposite for you, living in reality TV and being a reality TV star coming into movies and TV?
Yes, some of the hardest things for me to watch is reality TV. But I will say this, I just started watching Vanderpump and I got to give it to them. That cast is fucking cutthroat, excuse my language,
That's an
but it's
insane show, so I understand.
thing. But to me, that's a horror movie. You got eight people that don't like each other that are like, I will burn you at the stake for another episode. Where our show is like, we protect each other at all costs. So my way of disassociating and my way of being like, I need to just turn off my brain is horror movies. There's something, it's going to be messed up, but there's something very soothing I find about crime,
Mhm.
horror. I've loved it since I was a kid. The Betamaxes and the original 70s and 80s movies, there was something that it just made me feel alive. It's different than other genres. There's something that like pulls at you when your adrenaline's pumping. You're like, oh, what's going to happen next? But again, that's different. I'm a fan, so I was like, can I translate that to real life? And I don't know if I did, and I've been asking people if they liked it because I don't know if you've ever made anything like at one point I hated Devon
Mm.
because I watched it so much and I was so over crucial and like I just picked it apart that I'm like this is going to be the worst thing I've ever done in life. And when we had the premiere on Friday and I heard everyone's reactions in the movie, I was like, "Oh my God, people like it. Like they're actually liking what I did." And there was silence when I wanted to be silent and I saw people freaking out when I needed them to freak out and I was like, maybe I did do a decent job of like conveying my fan and like my love of horror onto my own version of it.
I relate to that a lot. I wrote a script and I had to send it to people in order for me to understand like, oh, okay, I can continue doing this thing. Because it is like you're like, I've done it too much. But for my last question, I want to ask, You mentioned Blair Witch, where you just kind of gave them the cameras and were like, you're Blair Witching it. Did you have a specific horror movies that you kind of wanted to pay homage to when you started with Devon? And did you get to kind of pay homage to all of them?
Blair Witch was, you know, I was the age, I think I just turned 13 or 14 when you thought those three people really went missing and the internet just became a thing. And I was like all hands on deck, crying to my father, being like, there's people missing and nobody's doing shit about it. Like I was all in. So that was one of my loves and inspiration. And I played homage also to Jersey Shore and being like, these are people in my life and or they're relatable to me, like Kat the mom. And I put both of those cards down and I was like, Blair Witch meets Jersey Shore.
Love it. It's so funny you said that because I instantly was like, yeah, I also remember that was Saw, where we all thought Saw was real. And we all just
Yes,
thought it was like fine thing.
yes. Like you need to be an upstanding citizen or he's gonna take your ass out. Like I remember being like, oh my God.
I remember it so well. But thank you so much for talking with me, and I can't wait for everyone to get to see Devon.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.